Discover 15 incredible life-changing secrets revealed, touching motivational speeches to inspire. In the faded heart of a Midwestern town, the air hung heavy with whispered judgments and dreams scarcely acknowledged. Sarah, a 32-year-old single mother, wore her exhaustion like a badge of honor. Juggling 2 jobs, flipping burgers at the diner during the day and stocking shelves at the grocery store by night, she fought fiercely for her 7-year-old son, Jake. Each moment felt like a mountain to climb, each day, a test of her resolve. But beneath the surface of her haggard appearance lay a fierce spirit, one rooted in love and an unwavering desire for a better life. With every dollar she earned, Sarah envisioned a future where Jake would thrive, free from the ghosts of their past, a life filled with opportunities she never had. However, the weight of societal expectations loomed over her like a dark cloud, threatening to overshadow her aspirations. Neighborhood gossip swirled like a storm, the judgmental eyes evaluating her every choice. "Can she really raise that boy alone?" they whispered, their curiosity masking stark disapproval. Just when she thought the struggles were hers alone to bear, the tumultuous arrival of her estranged father, a Vietnam War veteran, sent tremors through her already fragile stability. His return punctured the delicate balance she had been trying to maintain and dredged up old wounds, painful memories and long-standing grievances that had pushed them apart for so long. Her father's eyes, once filled with hope, were now clouded with shadows of the past. As he stepped back into town, Sarah felt a mixture of anger and longing. He had failed her, left her to navigate the treacherous waters of motherhood and life in a struggling community. And yet, there was still that flicker of hope. Could he truly change? Their relationship was a tangled web of disappointment and yearning. In the midst of this turmoil, her world shattered when a moment of desperation led to her losing custody of Jake. The courtroom's cold walls echoed with the weight of the judge's decision, and in that moment, the harsh scrutiny of the town pierced through her heart like a dagger. Sarah felt stripped bare, her worth questioned by not only the legal system but by every person who had ever looked at her with doubt. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. As shadows gathered around her, Sarah learned about a community event, a chance to voice her journey. With her heart racing, she stood before an audience, gripping the microphone as if it could tether her to this earth. Pain and hope mixed in her throat as she poured out her raw and heartfelt story. Her voice trembled, but she spoke the truth of her life, illustrating the relentless effort behind her dreams and the sacrifices made in the name of love. The crowd shifted. Those familiar faces, once steeped in judgment, reflected a mixture of surprise, empathy, and perhaps, understanding. But doubt still lingered in the air. Could they truly rally around her? As connections began to weave through the audience, Sarah's gripping fear of failure and inadequacy battled against an emerging sense of community. There was a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos, but would it hold? Would they accept her in all her imperfections, alongside the weight of her past? The promise of redemption loomed, yet her journey was far from over, leaving everyone questioning the path ahead for both Sarah and Jake. The next day, Sarah stood in front of the bathroom mirror, staring at her reflection. The harsh light highlighted her features, dark circles under tired eyes, a frown that had etched itself into her face over the years. She was worn but not broken, her resolve still flickering somewhere inside. Today was the day she would visit the lawyer. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. Her heart raced as she left the house, locking the door behind her. The air was crisp, a clear sign that autumn was knocking on the door. Leaves crunched underfoot as she walked, the sound soothing her nerves. Each step reminded her of Jake, the way his laughter wrapped around her like a warm blanket in the dead of winter. Thoughts of his smile steeled her resolve, and she picked up the pace. Upon arriving at the lawyer's office, the sterile atmosphere overwhelmed her. Sitting in the waiting room, she scanned through the family portraits and smiling faces of other mothers and fathers. They seemed so confident, so sure of their place in the world. "What am I doing here?" she whispered to herself, doubt creeping in like a thief in the night. Was she really ready to fight for her son again? When her name was called, Sarah stood and followed the paralegal down a narrow hallway, each step echoing her racing heartbeat. She entered a small office where a middle-aged man with eager eyes welcomed her. He introduced himself as Mr. Harris. She noticed the way he leaned in, genuinely interested as soon as she started recounting her story, the struggle to juggle jobs, the heartbreak of losing Jake, her hopes for the future. "Sarah, I believe we can contest the judge's decision," he said earnestly. "But what if I fail again?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if the court thinks I'm not fit?" Mr. Harris smiled gently. "Many mothers face challenges. It's about showing them how far you've come, how much you care. Focus on the love and commitment you have for your son. That speaks volumes." As they spoke, an unexpected sense of empowerment began to fill Sarah. She thought about the community event the night before and how she felt, standing alone yet supported. If she could share her story, why couldn't she stand up for her rights as a mother? The thought sparked a fire within her. When she left the office, anticipation tinged her nerves. She took a moment outside, inhaling deeply. A fresh start, a chance to reclaim her life and her son. But with newfound determination came gnawing fear. What if she couldn't prove herself? What if Jake didn't forgive her for the distance that had grown between them? Later that evening, as she prepared dinner, the ringing of her phone made her jump. It was her father. Her heart sank slightly. She hadn't spoken to him since his return to town. Should she answer, or should she let it go to voicemail? Taking a deep breath, she decided to answer. "Dad?" "Sarah, his voice faltered. "I want to talk. Can we meet?" Their unresolved past hung thick in the air, filling Sarah with both dread and curiosity. Just as she was about to respond, Jake's laughter echoed from the other room, pulling her attention. "Okay, about Jake," she started, but the moment felt impossibly heavy. Could she risk letting him back into her life when she was so focused on rebuilding the connection with her son? The answer loomed like a shadow just outside her reach. The night would unfold into uncertainty, and she wondered if this meeting would be the catalyst she needed or another stumbling block. Just what would come of this unexpected confrontation? Sarah stood there, heart pounding, phone pressed to her ear like a lifeline. Once again, the past loomed before her, heavy and complex. She thought about the years that had slipped away, the arguments, the hurtful words exchanged, and the silence that followed. "How can I even look him in the eye?" she whispered, half to herself and half to the voice on the other end. "Can I think about it?" she finally managed to say, her voice trembling. "Of course, just know that I want to try, Sarah." His words hung in the air, a glimmer of hope and a twinge of apprehension. She disconnected the call, feeling the weight of his desire to reconnect. It felt enormous, yet fragile, like a glass teetering at the edge of a table. Jake burst into the kitchen giggling, his face lighting up the dim room. He was oblivious to the emotional storm swirling around his mother, a comforting sight that momentarily eased her turmoil. "Mom! Look what I made." He held up a piece of art, a wild explosion of colors splattered across the page. It was chaotic but vibrant, a reflection of his youthful spirit that sparked joy in her heart. "It's beautiful!" she exclaimed, kneeling to his level. She reached out and ruffled his hair. "You're quite the artist." Jake beamed. "Can we hang it on the fridge?" "Absolutely." The simple task, elevating the art of childhood, grounded her. But the phone call from her father pulsed at the back of her mind. As she pinned the artwork to the fridge, she felt torn between the past and the future. Could she truly let her father back in? Was there room in her new life for a man who had disappointed her so deeply? That night, after Jake fell asleep dreaming chimeras, she wandered through the dimly lit apartment, her thoughts spinning. Memories surfaced like whispered secrets, the laughter shared over family dinners, the warmth of summer evenings spent on the porch. But then came the echoes of angry voices, moments of abandonment, of feeling unloved. The clock ticked in rhythm with her racing heart. She sat at the kitchen table, the weight of uncertainty anchoring her. Perhaps her father wanted to mend their broken past. She closed her eyes, letting her thoughts collide. When Jake had been taken from her before, she had felt powerless, a feeling she couldn't endure again. As her breath stilled, a stubborn flicker within her ignited. Maybe confronting her father could be a step toward reclaiming her life. Perhaps, in opening that door, she'd find a way to build bridges both with her father and with Jake. The next day, Sarah made her decision. She would meet her father, but it had to be a discussion about rebuilding trust. He needed to know that she wouldn't tolerate anything that jeopardized her connection with Jake. And as daunting as it felt, she could no longer let fear dictate her relationships. The night wore on, filled with restless thoughts and sporadic mulling over how to approach the meeting. She felt as if she were standing on the edge of a precipice, staring out into the unknown, unsure if she would fall or fly. After what felt like a lifetime, a single thought broke through the noise: what if this is the moment when everything changes? As she drifted into a fitful sleep, her dreams twisted with shadows and light, whispering of possibilities. She would meet her father tomorrow, steeling herself for the confrontation. She would reclaim her voice, her narrative, and in doing so, perhaps she could show Jake that strength comes from facing fears head-on. And just as she felt herself starting to find peace, an alarming noise jolted her awake. It was her phone, vibrating on the nightstand, an unexpected message that sent a shiver of fear down her spine. Who could it be so late at night? With shaking hands, she reached for her phone, knowing that the answer might change everything once again. Would it be a message of support, or something to tip the scales into chaos? The screen illuminated her face, casting an anxious glow in the dark room. Just as she feared, the message was from an unknown number. Her heart clenched as she hesitated, torn between impatience and dread. With a deep breath, she clicked it open, the words spreading before her like a cold mist. "Sarah, it's me, I need to talk. It's urgent. Please call me back." Her breath hitched. It was a message from Mark, her childhood friend, a name that stirred memories sweet with laughter and sharp with loss. He had always been her rock, a constant in the shifting sands of her life. But after the accident that took his sister, everything changed. They grew distant, the weight of grief too heavy to share. What could be so urgent that he would reach out after all this time? A knot tightened in her stomach. The call with her father already hung like a storm cloud overhead, and now this? She wasn't sure she had the energy to deal with more. But as much as she wanted to push it away, she felt the familiar tug of loyalty pulling her towards him. With resolve, she replied. "I'm awake. What's wrong?" After a moment's pause that felt like an eternity, her phone chimed again. "I'll explain everything when we talk. Can you meet me at the cafe tomorrow morning?" A flood of memories washed over her, echoing laughter, shared dreams, and the warmth of a friendship once unbreakable. It was all there, a reminder of who she used to be, who she could still become. Who knew that this unexpected message would lead her toward more than just Mark? If her father was also part of her journey tomorrow, what other pieces of her life might she be forced to confront? "Yes, I'll be there," she typed, her fingers trembling over the keys. As she placed her phone back on the nightstand, she realized tomorrow was going to be a pivotal day. Meeting her father, and now Mark, two figures who represented the past, two opportunities for healing. Sleep felt elusive, as visions of confrontation and resolution swirled in her mind. A flicker of hope pierced through her anxiety. If she could find the strength to meet with her father, perhaps she could find the same courage with Mark. Maybe they could, together, reconcile their loss and heal their strained friendship. Morning arrived too soon, and she felt that familiar tightening in her chest as she prepared for the day. She dressed carefully, opting for stability with comfortable jeans and a simple blouse. She needed grounding, especially with the unexpected emotional storm looming on the horizon. Jake stumbled into the living room, rubbing his eyes, his tousled hair a wild masterpiece of sleep. "Mom, are you gonna go see Grandpa today? He asked, voice still thick with sleep but filled with innocent curiosity. The question hung between them like a fragile thread waiting to snap. Maybe, she replied, managing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She wanted to shield him from her own turmoil, to allow him to be the child he was destined to be unburdened. She kissed his forehead and whispered, "You be good for me, okay? Always." He grinned before jumping to the floor, fully awake. As she stepped out of the apartment, the world felt brighter but heavy with potential change. The brisk air filled her lungs, electrifying her resolve. It's just one day, she told herself over and over again. But each step toward the cafe felt monumental. Would she be able to stand her ground? Would she be strong enough for the truth? With her heartbeat soaring in rhythm with her feet, she pushed the door open, nervous energy tangling around her thoughts as she stepped inside. The bell chimed above her, announcing her arrival like a herald of fate, setting the stage for what was yet to unfold. And there, waiting at a corner table, was Mark, his face a map of worry and longing. She could tell things had changed for him too, but it was the unexpected silence between them that felt the heaviest. "Sarah," he began, faltering as he stood. The words were there, unspoken but somehow lingering in the air. What could he possibly say that would make everything right? In that moment, she realized, everything was on the line: the past, the present, and the choices that would define their futures. And just then, her phone buzzed again in her pocket. Another message. What now? Was this all too much? Her breath caught as she pulled it out to look. Her heart raced as she saw the screen light up. It was a new message, this time from her father. She almost didn't want to look, fearing the added baggage might tip her over the edge. But curiosity got the better of her. "Sarah, I hope you're ready for our talk. I really want to mend things. Meet me at the park after you see Mark." The words spun in her head. How could so much weight be piled onto one day? She looked up, hearing the soft scrape of a chair. Mark had moved closer, his expression caught somewhere between concern and anticipation. "Are you okay?" She instinctively tucked her phone back into her pocket, forcing a smile that felt far too fragile. "Yeah, just more messages." Mark's brow furrowed. "I get it. I really do." He sat down again, this time more carefully, as if he was afraid of breaking the air between them. "Thanks for coming, Sarah. I know it's been a long time." The sincerity in his voice felt like a balm to her fears. She took a deep breath, letting the moment hang before them. "You said it was urgent. What's on your mind?" He looked down, tracing the rim of his coffee cup with a finger, hesitant. "It's about Jess, about the accident." The name reverberated in her chest like a stone tossed into still water. Jess. The girl who had been their glue, whose absence had shattered so much. What about her? Mark finally met her gaze, his eyes glistening with a mix of sadness and resolve. "I've been thinking a lot about the past, you know. And I realized I never talked to you about how I felt, about her death." Sarah's heart ached at the rawness of his admission. Memories flooded back, the laughter, the plans, the future they had thought was paved with golden dreams. It felt like they were stepping back into a world they had both tried to avoid. "I didn't know how to talk about it either," she confessed, voice trembling. "You're not alone in this, Sarah. We both lost her," he said softly, and for the first time since stepping into the cafe, she felt the stirrings of healing take root. "I pushed you away thinking it would hurt less. But it only made things worse." "It hurt to lose you too," she admitted, the weight of her own grief spilling into the open air between them. Mark nodded solemnly, wiping at his eyes. "I've been hoping we could find a way to remember her together, maybe start to let go of some of the pain." His words hung there, precious and heavy. Would facing their shared loss together bring them the solace they both desperately needed? Or would it throw them further into the dark? "Mark, I want to," Sarah started but was interrupted by the soft chime of her phone. This time, it wasn't just a message. It was a call from her father. The familiar dread squeezed her chest again. Should she answer it now, or keep her focus where it was needed most? Mark watched her, his eyes encouraging, yet worried. She could see he sensed the weight of this choice. Would she confront her past or turn back to face the other remnants of her life that were waiting nearby? With shaky hands and a pounding heart, she clicked the green button. The screen lit up again, revealing her dad's name, a reminder that truth could twist her world once more. "Hello." She answered, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. "Sarah, it's time we talked. I have something important to tell you." A new wave of adrenaline surged through her. The words hung in the air, vibrating with unspoken moments and lost connections. And just then, Mark's phone buzzed too. Another message. What were the odds? Two revelations coming at once. What if she breathed, heart racing? What if today changes everything for all of us? As Mark leaned in, eyes filled with possibility, Sarah knew she stood at a crux of decisions that could redefine their lives. Would they finally begin to heal, or would this moment unravel into more pain? The questions weighed heavy, and just like that, the next turn of her life beckoned on the horizon. What would tomorrow bring? "Sarah, please, I really need you to listen." Her father's voice quivered on the other end of the line, filled with emotion. It struck Sarah like a gust of wind, disorienting and cold. "Dad?" The question hung heavily in the air. It had been months since their last conversation, each silence stretching painfully long. His tone was different, more fragile, and it worried her. "I know we've had our differences. I know things have been complicated." He paused, and she could almost hear him steeling himself. "But I need you to understand something crucial. About Jess, about everything." Mark's presence faded into the background as her father's words took center stage. "Okay, I'm listening," she said, trying to ignore the doubts swirling in her mind. "I should have told you this sooner after the accident." He hesitated, and the silence felt unbearable, punctuated only by the distant clinking of coffee cups in the cafe. "I thought I was protecting you, but I wasn't, Sarah. I think I contributed to the pain we've all felt." Her heart pounded. What could he possibly mean? "Dad, just tell me. What are you trying to say?" She gripped the phone tighter, anticipation swirling with dread. "There were things I learned after Jess passed. Things she would have wanted you to know. Secrets, really. But I didn't ever think you were ready to hear them. And now I fear it's too late." Her eyes darted to Mark, who was watching her intently, trying to gauge the unfolding drama. This was heavy, a truth, or a truth disguised as a burden. "What secrets?" She pressed, her voice rising slightly, frustration meeting urgency. "Sarah, I promise, this isn't what you think. I've kept this from you to shield you, but Jess had dreams that she wanted to share. Dreams she believed in so deeply that she planned to fight for them even if that meant facing some demons. And I let those dreams die with her." Pain twisted inside Sarah like a knife. Jess was full of light, a beacon of motivation. How could her father have held on to this? "Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you tell me before?" "I needed her. We both did." Tears threatened to spill, tracing pathways down her cheeks. "Because I was afraid of the hurt it might cause." His voice cracked. "I thought it would be easier if you didn't have to bear that. I didn't want to drag you down anymore. Dad, you have to understand that hiding the truth only creates more pain. I feel lost without knowing her dreams, without knowing her plans for us." The emotional weight of her words permeated through the connection. Mark reached across the table, his hand hovering, unsure if he should touch her. "Please, Sarah. I know I can't undo the past, but I can help you understand her. There's a reason we should unite. I think it's time we finally remember her together. She wanted us to fight for those dreams as a family." Her breath caught in her throat, a mix of hope sparking against the backdrop of despair. The idea was radical yet comforting, facing the past, side by side, unraveling the truth about a future that could still be born from the ashes of their grief. "What do you want me to do?" she whispered, vulnerability leaking through every word. "Meet me at the park, like I said. Bring Mark. We need to talk about Jess. It won't be easy, but I believe it's necessary." Mark's eyes widened, the weight of the moment palpable between them. "Okay, I'll be there," she finally said, feeling like she was stepping onto a tightrope, a balancing act between grief and hope. As she hung up, uncertainty washed over her. She looked at Mark, whose concern was evident. "Are you ready for this?" he asked softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know," she admitted, the gravity of everything pressing down on her. "But we owe it to Jess to face this together. I just hope it doesn't tear us apart." A silence fell, thick with the unspoken questions lingering between them. Sarah glanced at the door, expecting answers but knowing she would only find more questions. What had Jess wanted them to fight for? And could they truly emerge whole from the pain they were about to confront? The clock was ticking, and with every passing minute, the urgency to uncover the truth loomed over them like a storm cloud. What awaited them in the park, and would it change everything they thought they knew? The sun hung low in the sky, filtering through the leaves of the park like shards of gold. Sarah took a deep breath, the crisp air fighting against the heaviness weighing on her chest. Each step felt like walking through a fog of memories, half-formed images of her sister, laughter that echoed in the distance and then faded, like a ghost of a brighter time. Mark walked beside her, his hand firmly gripping hers, a silent promise that they would face this storm together. As they approached the designated meeting spot, her heart raced. She was both terrified and hopeful. What would her father share? What dreams had Jess held that were lost with her? The park was almost empty. A few scattered joggers and a couple of children chasing after a ball played in the distance, their laughter a stark contrast to the seriousness coiled tightly within her. They spotted her father sitting on a bench, his shoulders slightly hunched, hands clasped around a coffee cup that had long gone cold. "Hey, Dad," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. He looked up, a mixture of relief and anxiety flickering across his face. "Thank you for coming," he said, his voice shaky but warm. Placing her hands in her pockets, she nodded. "This was important, so here we are." Mark shifted beside her, mirroring her apprehension. "What did you want to talk about?" he asked, trying to break the tension coiling around them. Her father took a deep breath, as if gathering all his courage. "I owe you both so much. I really regret waiting so long to share this." With every word he spoke, Sarah felt the familiar ache of loss. It was the pain of the past and the fear of a future she couldn't grasp yet. "Just tell us, please," she prompted gently, feeling a raw urgency to uncover whatever lay in the shadows. Jess, she had plans for a charity, something focused on helping kids like her. She wanted to create a space for them, to channel their creativity. "After her accident, I found her notebooks, all filled with ideas." His voice trailed off, the emotional weight of it staggering. Sarah's breath caught. She wanted to help kids. The image of Jess coaching children through art and laughter filled her mind, vivid and inspiring. "Why didn't you ever tell me that? I thought it would hurt too much." Seeing her dreams alive made it harder to accept that she was gone, he admitted, his voice cracking. "But Jess would have wanted you to keep those dreams alive. To not let them die with her." Sarah felt a warmth fighting back the chill of heartache. "So, what do we do now? How do we bring her dreams back?" Her father reached into his bag and pulled out a weathered notebook, worn at the edges. "This is where it starts." Jess poured her heart into these pages. "It's our chance to honor her memory. Together, we can make it happen." Taking the notebook from his hands, Sarah felt the weight of the past and the promise of the future merge into one. "I want to do this. I want to fight for her dreams." Mark smiled, squeezing her hand. "We'll do it together. As a family." The words lingered in the air between them, a golden thread weaving through the tapestry of grief and hope. They could feel the shift, the dawning realization that Jess was not truly gone if they honored her spirit. Yet even amidst the newfound resolve, a nagging thought held on. Could she really take this on? Would the burden of Jess's dreams create yet another divide, or could it weave their broken pieces into something stronger? As Sarah flipped through the pages, excitement mingled with fear. Could they really transform heartbreak into hope? The days settled into a hush around them, each passing second a reminder of the path ahead. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, envisioning Jess, her bright eyes and infectious laughter filling the room. "What's the first step?" she asked, her voice breaking the quiet, determination igniting within her. Mark leaned closer, an idea bubbling up. "Let us gather a few people, spread the word. Get her friends involved. Jess would love that." "Yeah," Sarah nodded, feeling the beginnings of a plan forming. But just as the future seemed brighter, a cloud of worry swept in. What if they failed? What if the weight of Jess's dreams became too much to carry? With her heart pounding, she knew one truth remained. They had to fight not just for Jess, but for themselves. And it all began with this first step. "Let us do it," she said, commitment thick in her voice. As they walked away from the park, the notebook clutched tightly in her hands, something shifted within. A sense of purpose blossomed. But deep down, a question lingered: would their journey bring them closer, or would it unveil even deeper scars from the past? And as the sun dipped below the horizon, illuminating the path in shades of orange and pink, Sarah knew they were standing at the edge of something monumental, a fight for dreams, but also a fight for each other. The crunch of leaves beneath their feet echoed in the fading light as they made their way to the car, each step mixing urgency with determination. Sarah clutched the notebook to her chest, the worn pages whispering Jess's dreams back to life. "We should start by reaching out to her friends," Mark suggested as they settled into the car. "They might have ideas or want to help." "Yeah," she replied, but a doubt flickered within her. What if Jess's friends didn't care anymore? Or worse, what if those dreams felt too heavy for them to carry? "Do you think they still remember?" "They will," Mark reassured her, turning the engine over. "Once they know what we're doing, they'll want to be part of it." Jess meant so much to them, too. As they drove through the quiet streets, thoughts raced through Sarah's mind. Would they find a way to resurrect Jess's ideas or uncover more of their own grief? She glanced out the window, the sunset casting a warm glow across their neighborhood as they navigated toward home. When they arrived, her father was already inside, waiting anxiously. "How did it go?" he asked, his eyes darting between them, searching for answers. "It went well," Sarah started, not wanting to burden him with her doubts just yet. "We talked about Jess's plans, and we want to do something to honor her. We're gathering her friends." A small smile tugged at the corners of her father's mouth. "I think she would have loved that. She wanted to inspire others." Sarah nodded but felt the weight of expectation settling back on her shoulders. "Yeah, but it's not just that. What if it fails? What if we can't even get started?" Her father's expression shifted, and Sarah saw the flicker of that familiar pain in his eyes. "Failure is part of the process, Sarah. Jess faced challenges too. It's how we rise from those moments that matters most." His words sank in, and a flicker of resolve ignited inside her. "Okay, then we'll focus on the first step. Let us make a list of people to contact." "Great idea," Mark chimed in, already pulling out his phone. "I can text a few people. We'll need to plan a meeting." Sarah took a seat at the kitchen table, the notebook spread out before her. Each page was filled with Jess's handwriting ideas for art classes, workshops, even a summer camp for kids. A wave of inspiration washed over her, then quickly mingled with fear, but as Mark's voice faded into the background, the words on the page started to come alive again. What if they could create something vibrant, something joyful that honored Jess? "Let us host an event to kickstart things," Sarah proposed, her voice shaking with enthusiasm. "We can showcase her work, have friends share their memories and art show." Mark interrupted, eyes lighting up. "We can include a donation box for the charity." Her father smiled. "That's brilliant. Jess would love the idea of reaching out through art." Hope swelled in Sarah's chest. Maybe this was the spark they needed to ignite Jess's dreams. But just as she felt the thrill of possibility, a shadow crept in. What if the show drove them apart instead of pulling them together? The worry lingered, wrapped around her heart tightly, making her question everything. As the three of them gathered around the table, mapping out their plans, laughter began to seep into the conversation. They brainstormed details, capturing snippets of Jess's essence with each idea. But even with every smile, the undercurrent of fear persisted. When they finally finished for the night, Sarah found herself staring at the notebook once more, the pages full of life but shadowed with loss. "Are we really ready for this?" she thought, uncertainty creeping back. Would chasing after Jess's dreams bring them closer or break them apart in ways they couldn't foresee? Tomorrow would carry its own weight. As she lay in bed, thoughts swirling, one lingering question remained: could they take that leap together, or would fear pull them back? It was a decision that would determine everything. And as the stars twinkled outside her window, Sarah felt the moment stretching before her, waiting for the next step, an adventure that could either lead them back to one another or down a path where darkness threatened their light. Morning light streamed through the curtains, casting soft patterns across Sarah's room. She blinked awake, the dreams of the night fading as reality rushed back in. The notebook lay on her desk, beckoning her to revisit Jess's dreams. It was a pivotal day. Today, they would start reaching out. Her heart raced at the thought. Picking up her phone, she scrolled through her contacts, pausing to read familiar names that brought bittersweet memories. Jess's friends. Would they all come together? Downstairs, the smell of pancakes filled the air. Mark was already at the kitchen table, flipping through Jess's notebook, a thoughtful look on his face. "I was thinking," he started, not looking up, "we could create a website for the event. Share her art, memories, it could reach more people." Sarah felt a warmth spread in her chest. That's a great idea. A way for even those who can't come to feel connected. Her father joined them, plate in hand and a bright smile that told Sarah he sensed the shift in energy. He poured syrup over his pancakes and glanced at the notebook. "What's the plan for today?" "We'll begin contacting friends," Sarah said, her tone firm now. "And we'll work on the website too." "Wonderful!" he exclaimed, taking a seat. Nothing like a good plan to kickstart dreams. With breakfast finished and her father cleaning up, Sarah and Mark settled in front of the computer. The idea of the website excited her. It felt like breathing life back into Jess's spirit. As they designed the layout, a flurry of messages began to appear on Sarah's phone. One by one, her heart leapt with every name she recognized. Ava, Jake, Chris. Each name was a lifeline to Jess and her past. Mark was groaning softly. "Not even 10 minutes in and I'm already drafting a group text." "Let's make it personal," Sarah urged. "A message from the heart. About Jess, what she meant to us, what we want to do." Mark agreed, and together they crafted a message filled with love and purpose. It flowed naturally, like they were channeling Jess herself. They hit send, then shared a satisfying look. "Is it wrong to say I'm excited?" Mark asked, his eyes gleaming with energy. "No, it's not wrong," Sarah replied, a smile creeping onto her lips. "It feels right. Like Jess is guiding us." The afternoon slipped by in bursts of laughter, and by evening, the group chat was alive with responses from Jess's friends. Some were eager to help, others reminisced fondly about Jess. Each reply felt like a thread connecting them to a shared future, weaving hope into their hearts. But as the excitement built, a tendril of doubt uncoiled in Sarah's mind. What if the weight of grief became too much? What if the memories brought more sorrow than joy? A wave of anxiety washed over her like a cold wind. Mark's laughter pulled her from her thoughts. Someone else bringing cookies. This is going to be the best event ever. She nodded, trying to push the shadows aside. Right. It'll be great. Despite the excitement buzzing around her, Sarah couldn't shake the worry. Could they really pull this off? Could they honor Jess without losing themselves in the process? As they wrapped up for the night, she felt a mix of hope and fear swirling inside, the struggle continuing, with a final look at the glowing computer screen filled with input from friends' names and memories, laughter and tears. Sarah whispered softly, "What if we need to lean on each other more than ever before?" Tomorrow would bring the first meeting, and with it, the chance to gather everyone and unleash Jess's dreams into reality. But as she turned off the lights, she realized that sometimes hope doesn't come easy. It requires an act of courage to face what lies ahead. As she closed her eyes, another question echoed in the night: would they be able to share Jess's light, or would the darkness threaten to swallow them whole? The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the park where Sarah, Mark, and her father waited. Today felt different, a chance to turn the page. Sarah held Jess's notebook tightly against her chest, as if it could shield her from the storm of emotions swirling inside. "Are you ready?" Mark asked, his voice steady but filled with excitement. Nobody could prepare her for this moment, not really. "I think so," she responded, the words escaping like a prayer. Her father looked nervous but hopeful. "Just remember, this is for Jess. We're not alone in this." As they approached the meeting spot, familiar faces began arriving, friends of Jess who had shared laughter, dreams, and secrets. The air felt vibrant, charged with unspoken stories and cherished memories. Would they all feel the pain of loss, or could this gathering spark something beautiful? "Look who's here!" Ava exclaimed, bounding toward them. Her eyes sparkled with recognition and shared grief. "Hey, Ava," Sarah greeted, her heart racing. "I'm glad you came." And as more friends arrived, the memories flooded back: the late-night laughter, the dreams spun around a campfire, the plans that seemed so attainable. Together, those recollections built a bridge to something new. Once everyone was gathered, Sarah stood up, the notebook trembling in her hands. "Thank you all for being here. Jess wouldn't have wanted to be forgotten." She took a breath. She had plans, dreams, an art program for kids, a way to make connections through creativity. "And I believe we can carry that forward together." Mark stepped in, his face bright with passion. "This isn't just about remembering Jess, it's about creating a legacy that lives on in every child we can reach. Let us come together to make her vision a reality." Nods and murmurs of agreement rippled through the group. The sense of community was palpable, each person realizing that they shared not just grief, but a powerful connection to Jess's spirit. "I have some ideas," Jake shared, stepping up beside his mom. He held a colorful drawing he had created, inspired by the idea of an art camp. "Can I help?" Sarah's heart swelled, tears threatening to spill. "Of course," she said, hugging him tightly. Seeing her son step forward reminded her why they were here: to turn darkness into light, to honor Jess and build something meaningful. The group began brainstorming, sharing their own memories of Jess, her laughter bubbling up like sunshine breaking through clouds. Each idea built on the last: a fundraiser, an art show, maybe even a scholarship for kids who wanted to pursue their passion. Jess would want every child to have that chance, her father added, his voice trembling with emotion. "We owe it to her to fight for these dreams." As they huddled closer, their laughter merged with plans, a whirlwind of hope much stronger than the sorrow that had weighed them down. "I'm in," Mark said, determination shining in his eyes. "We'll make this happen." The sun dipped lower, coloring the sky in hues of pink and orange, painting a perfect backdrop for their commitment. Sarah felt a weight lift as they finalized their plans, summoning the strength of Jess's spirit to guide them. In this moment, she realized they weren't just honoring Jess's memory, they were rebuilding their family, their friendships, and their lives in the process. This journey, filled with laughter and community, would be their catharsis. As the night closed in, Sarah looked around at her friends and family, their hearts intertwined, a tapestry of love and grief transformed into something beautiful. She could feel Jess's presence with them, her laughter, her dreams lighting the path ahead. With new resolve and clarity, Sarah leaned into the circle. "I'm ready to embrace this journey. Together, we will carry Jess's dreams forward. Together, we will make her proud." And just like that, they stepped into the future, hearts wide open, ready to create something worthy of the love they had shared. Now, just like Sarah, it's your moment to step forward. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your voice matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Remember, true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Don't wait not even one more second.